Chapter 101, Florida Man accused of sending children to lithium mine 20 hours a day. Wow! Even though Leo couldn't visually see the content in the ring, he could vividly sense everything. His chi string wiggled around to explore the space in the ring. After moving around for a while, Leo's chi picked up an object. He ordered his chi to pull it out. Whoosh! A red flying sword was ejected from the ring and fell to the ground. Leo was amused. He put all rings on his fingers and picked up the red sword. He tried to inject his chi string into the weapon. However, the red sword sucked in Leo's chi string and began draining his energy from his blood cells. Leo felt like he was electrocuted. He couldn't let go of the sword. Fortunately, it took a second for the flying sword to fully charge. The flying sword moved by itself. It lined itself horizontally and floated in front of Leo. The latter raised his eyebrows and smiled. Is this sword actually a flying surfboard? Nice! Leo hopped on the sword and stood on it. He moved his feet and adjusted his position for a moment as he wasn't used to standing on a wobbling flying sword. Having fun, Leo experimented on it, ordering the blood cells in his feet to create a string of chi. After injecting it with a new string of chi, the sword became the extension of his legs. In addition, Leo learned of its functions. You can do that? Alright, go! Whoosh! The flying sword jetted forward as Leo had commanded. However, as it was Leo's first time driving, the sword plunged into a giant withered mushroom, ramming Leo's face into it. Leo pulled himself off the dead sweet dream mushroom. He rolled his eyes and pulled the sword out. He took a mental note that he would practice riding it later. As for the sword, he carried it around along with his handgun. For now, he had something else to do. He still remembered why he wanted to learn how to use chi. It was to access the spatial rings and use them to store the gold coins in the pharaoh statue. Leo jumped back to the pyramid and entered through the hole he created. Upon getting inside, Leo picked up a gold coin and shoved it into his ring. It didn't automatically go in for some reason. This is going to take a while. Although Leo was annoyed, he didn't hate learning new things. He sat there, using his chi to wrap around the flying sword, his handgun, and the gold coin. Then, he tried to move them into the ring with his chi instead. Unfortunately, it didn't work. What the hell? How about this? Instead of trying to shove an object into the ring, Leo injected his chi into the ring, activating it. This time, the technique worked. After the ring was activated, Leo felt the connection between his psyche and the ring. With a thought, the ring sucked the three objects inside its pocket space. Oh, it's that simple? Leo was surprised and proud of himself. Finally, he learned the trick that Gao Yen and others had been using. At long last, Leo learned how to use a spatial ring. Testing his new skill, Leo pointed his ring at the broken statue and the gold coins. He commanded the ring, "Store everything." Whoosh! In a flash, the huge statue and the gold coins inside the piggy bank container vanished into Leo's ring. Hot damn! Had I learned this before, storing those corpses and chickens would have been a lot easier. Man, I was stupid. Having an inventory space or a pocket dimension to store items was convenient. After robbing the gold statue, Leo proceeded to the next room. There, 3 sarcophagi were the only things in the room. Leo smirked as he finally found the tombs he could raid. Without hesitation, Leo kicked one of the covers open, revealing the inside. Green fume and brown dust erupted from inside the coffin. Leo snorted and took a few steps back as the smell was as nasty as his impurity liquid. After the toxin gas dispersed, Leo checked the person in there. In the sarcophagus was a mummified corpse of a weird creature. It had the face of a dog, but it had a human body. However, that was not Leo's goal. In the coffin, trinkets, gold coins, a colorful cane, and a large marble stone buried the corpse. Leo giggled and ordered his ring to store everything, including the dead body. After all, he could give it to Kat as a souvenir. Thinking of Kat, Leo felt bad for her. He wished that he could have increased the portal platform's level to 9 and brought her along. The trip would have been chaotic, crazy, and fun. Could have, should have, would have, didn't happen. Leo could only regret his decisions. He wondered what she was doing now. Leo's domain mystic realm platform equals. After the unicorns entered this realm, they didn't go anywhere. They huddled together around the portal, trying to go back inside. They looked at the 4 guardian statues in fear. The wolf statue glared at the newcomers as usual. It didn't move other than giving them a menacing cold look and emanating a dark aura. The slime cat octopus statue was a lot nicer. It gave the unicorns a friendly smile. However, its words contained multiple meanings. Nom nom munya? Hearing the catopus voice, the unicorns tried to go back to their world. However, the portal rejected them, pushing them back. As nobody could go back, some of the unicorns also tried to flee from there by flying away. But as they took flight, the fisherman statue released an invisible fishing net, wrapping them and pulling them back to the platform. One of the strongest male unicorns retaliated. It delivered a yellow lightning bolt at the fisherman statue. I think you should take a look at. Ding! An array of red walls appeared, blocking the attack and trapping everybody inside. Then, the devil statue slowly stood up and looked down at the crowd. He uttered, "Stay there until your master comes back. Do not leave this domain or your head will roll." The ponies trembled in fear as they sensed a terrifying aura of a high-ranking immortal from the black-winged devil statue. They responded, "S-smash." The devil nodded and sat on his throne, resuming his previous pose. The female statues around him also looked at the unicorns for a moment and giggled. Then, they went back to their original location. A strong gale came, but no wind managed to get through the red cube array. As a result, the dead mutated wasps, tree logs, and some leftover cockatrices remained there. Whoosh! The catopus statue extended its tentacle and collected the wasps and chickens. He pulled them out of the array. Then he threw everything to the land below. After dumping the corpses and food, he didn't forget to call his kin. Nom nom munya. Although the voice was soft and quiet, the statue could hear the reply from a certain plant monster on the ground. Nom nom meow? While everything happened, another issue brewed in the store domain. As Leo forgot to tell his mannequin workers when to stop digging a pond, they never stopped working. At the southwest corner of Leo's territory, the mannequins created a massive mine pit, which extended toward the south of his territory. Fortunately, it was only 3 kilometers deep. The soil, rocks, and materials that the mannequins had dug were piled in the junkyard of Leo's recycling center. Some of the dirt was thrown into the acid pit, turning them into spirit stones. As for rare minerals, the mannequins left them there. Plop, plop. Corpses rained from the sky and fell into the pit. A few seconds later, Cat dashed from her granary home and jumped into the hole. Nom nom meow. The mannequins in the pit looked up. Upon noticing Cat's arrival, they nimbly climbed the wall and moved on to the shallower area, expanding the area. Boom! Cat landed on the bottom of the pit. As soon as she noticed the dead insects, she was overjoyed. She put one in her mouth and tasted it. Cruck cruck. After chewing a giant wasp for a while, Cat's mouth curved up, and her expression brightened. The wasp was strangely nutritious and delicious for her. Wanting more, Cat picked up a new corpse and ate it. Leo would scold her later for stealing his snacks. However, that was a story for another time. After looting the first sarcophagus, Leo did the same to the other 2. Fortunately, no mummy or zombie was awakened during the process. Checking his loot, Leo pulled out a clear orb that never stopped emitting strange energy. For an unknown reason, Leo was attracted to it. "What are you? Why am I feeling nice when you're close to me?" As if Leo was high on catnip, Leo rubbed his face on the basketball-sized orb and licked it. The orb's surface was still coated with the poison gas from the mummy coffin, but Leo didn't care. After rubbing and clinging to the orb for a while, Leo couldn't stop his impulse. He opened his mouth and bit it. Chomp! His teeth cut the orb's hard and smooth surface. He chewed on it and discovered that it tasted like pineapple pizza with extra cheese. Addicted to the taste, Leo devoured it in a minute. When Leo was done, he came back to his sense. He also forgot what he had been doing. What was I doing earlier? Leo scratched his head and looked at his hands. Then he looked around. While Leo was confused, the system's notification sound woke him from a trance. It also informed him of a strange development. Ding! Congratulations! You have completed the secondary objective. Ha! Leo widened his eyes and paused to think. He didn't understand what he had just done. Thus, he rechecked the Mystic Realm missions again. Primary objectives. 1. Kill Rabbit Trent King. Cleared. 2. Absorb Gnosis of Rabbit Trent King. Secondary objective. 1. Locate Entity Fate Crystal in Sweet Dream Mushroom Forest. Cleared. 2. Absorb Entity Fate Crystal. Cleared. Chapter 102. Florida man traveling to China to join Shaolin Temple discovers rare Pokemon. Since when have I cleared the secondary objective? Leo thought of the orb that he ate earlier. He wondered if it was really the entity fate crystal that the system mentioned. If so, he was curious about what it could do. So far, Leo didn't feel the changes. He was still him, and the cancer cells remained the same, except they seemed cleaner. System, what is entity fate crystal? What can it do? Leo asked the system as he was curious. Unfortunately, the system reverted back to silent mode. He got no answer or response. Leo clicked his tongue. He grumbled and kicked the wall, which was fully carved with ancient texts and images. The wall broke, and a portion of the pyramid blocks fell from the structure outside the building. Because of the new window, the wind blew into the room and removed the stagnant air inside. Leo welcomed the fresh oxygen, and his mood got better. As Leo's mood improved, his brain functioned better. He remembered that he hadn't found the Gnosis thingy or recovered the 10th rank monster core yet. Putting his thought to work, Leo created 4 strings of chi and injected them into the 4 remaining spatial rings of Situ Nantion. Click, click. Every array in the rings was removed as Leo's chi drained all their energy. He could finally access all the rings. Without hesitation, Leo searched for the item that Situ Nantion had stolen. It was inside a plain iron ring with weird carved texts on it. Moreover, the space inside was as tiny as 4 cubic meters. Fortunately, it stored the entire dragon fruit plant there. The plant was also alive. When Leo sent his chi in, it tried to pull his chi string and devour it. Leo was amused. He ejected the entire dragon fruit plant. Whoosh! The plant manifested from the ring and fell to the floor. Its branches and roots wiggled, trying to get back up. Leo seized its roots and stomped its stem. Using his fingernail, he sliced the plant vertically, looking for the 10th rank monster core that it ate. It wasn't difficult to find it as the tentacle eyeball earlier was still hiding in the plant stem. When Leo cut the plant open, it was right before his eyes. Leo sneered at the eyeball. He grabbed it and picked it up. Wiggle. The eyeball tried to flee, but it couldn't get out of Leo's hand. Moreover, it sensed a dreadful aura and cancerous cells, which tried to enter its eye. The eyeball monster wept. Without saying anything, it pleaded, begging for its life. Leo deeply frowned. Although he could be ruthless against thieves and aggressive animals, he was weak when he dealt with cute animals or monsters. He deeply sighed. Since the eyeball cried and begged for its life, it deserved a second chance. You know what? You can have that, but I have a condition. The eyeball tentacle monster widened its eye. Then it nodded, eager to fulfill the condition. I need to absorb the Gnosis of Rabbit Trent King, but I don't know what it is or what it looks like. If you can bring me that stupid Gnosis, I'll let you have that monster core, and I'll set you free. The eyeball paused for a long while. It then turned around and looked at the plant, hesitated. The monster closed its eye and shed a tear. After making its decision, it turned around to face Leo. The monster pointed its tentacle at the dragon fruit plant. Leo raised his eyebrows in confusion for a moment before his brain registered the hint. He was astonished. So, the plant is the Gnosis? The eyeball nodded. Still, it looked sad as the plant had been its home for centuries. It didn't want to part from it. Moreover, it was born from one of the dragon fruits. Therefore, the plant was akin to its mother. Looking at the eyeball, Leo felt bad. He wondered if he could absorb the Gnosis without eating the plant. Gnosis is the plant? But Gnosis means the teaching of a god or knowledge. Leo's eyes gleamed. If Gnosis was knowledge, the Gnosis of Rabbit Trent King could be the king's knowledge. However, as it was related to the dragon fruit plant, it might refer to something else. Is Gnosis a Tao? A Tao that connects to this plant. The monster suddenly widened its eye. It repeatedly nodded and jumped around. Leo continued contemplating. So, if the Gnosis is a Tao and I have to absorb the Gnosis, all I have to do is to learn that freaking Tao, then the quest is completed? He gave the eyeball a meaningful look. He slowly nodded. All right, let's give this crap a try. Let's try not to harm that plant for now. I need to learn what it can do and what I can learn from it. Screech. The eyeball was overjoyed. It lapped around Leo and hopped on his shoulder, unafraid of his intruding cancer cells. As soon as the eyeball monster touched Leo's skin, the radiation and cancer cells latched onto its body. However, all cells and radiation disappeared into its fluid, becoming its food. Nobody noticed the eyeball monster's tentacle got slightly longer when it digested Leo's dead cancer cells and radiation that I think you should take a look at. Meanwhile, Leo deeply sighed and face-palmed. Why am I getting soft whenever I see crying monsters or animals? Oh wait, those chickens cried too, but I still killed them. Oh right, they're food. That doesn't count. Sometimes Leo laughed at his illogical self for having a double standard. This was one of those times. Again, whenever Leo was in a good mood, his brain's efficiency rose. He raised the plant up and brought out spirit stones that he found from Situ Nanshan's rings. He got an idea of how to connect to the plant. The white plant's wound was already healed. Moreover, it didn't mutate after Leo had touched it. Impressed by the plant, Leo put the spirit stones in his hands. A few seconds later, they transformed into essence stones. He put them next to the dragon fruit plant's roots. The roots crept toward the essence stones as Leo had predicted. The roots coiled around the stones and digested their energy and essence. Plop, plop. As the plant digested the element energy from the stones, it produced new fruits. It only took the fruits 1 minute to fall from the plant as they already ripened. Leo picked up the dragon fruit and looked at it. When he touched it, the white fruit darkened, unlike the plant. This is difficult. What can I learn from this tree and its fruits? What is the Tao or Gnosis that I need to learn? The eyeball monster looked back and forth between the plant and Leo for a moment. It suddenly got an idea and jumped down from Leo's shoulder. Then it ran toward the plant and merged into it. A few seconds later, the eyeball appeared on the plant's stem. Its tentacle also emerged from the plant's skin, transforming into small vines. They pointed at one of the white fruits and gestured for Leo to plant the dragon fruit tree and the fruits. Leo deeply frowned. He understood its gesture, but he wondered why he needed to plant them. Still, for the sake of uncovering this mystery, Leo accepted the monster's suggestion. After putting a new pair of rubber gloves on, Leo stored the newly created fruits in the plain iron ring's storage space. He then carried the plant and jumped out of the pyramid. When Leo looked down, he saw nothing but mutated soil and dead mushrooms. His expression was dark. I guess I shouldn't plant you here. This place is too dirty for you, right? The eyeball nodded. It then pointed at the west. You want me to bring you there? The monster moved its eye up and down, answering the question. I take that as a yes. All right. Leo looked up and noticed that Taxi was still waiting for him. He took aim, wiggling his butt as if he was a cat, preparing to attack somebody's foot. Whoosh! Leo vertically jumped while carrying the dragon fruit plant. Accurately, he reached the pervert unicorn and landed on his back. All right, Taxi. Next station, the west. Let's go. Taxi looked back at Leo and noticed that he carried the plant with his favorite fruits. The horse widely smiled and showed the eyeball monster his ugly teeth. The eyeball shivered in fear, closed its eyes and wept again. Seeing the trembling plant, Leo lightly patted Taxi's head. However, his light pat was a hard slap from Taxi's perspective. After getting a hard slap to the back of his head, Taxi protested. Smash! D. Leo rolled his eyes. You're an elder. Don't bully a kid. Smash! Smash! Huh? You're only 1,000 years old, but this eyeball guy is over 3,000? That's the more reason you shouldn't be disrespectful to an elder. You damn donkey! Smash! Titi. No matter how old the eyeball monster was, Taxi got scolded anyway. The unicorn whined while it jetted toward the west at his full speed. 10 minutes later, they flew past the campsite of Wu Bai and Gao Yen. Not long after, they reached the tall mountain area of the west zone, where only absurdly slim and tall mountains existed. Taxi panted and landed on one of the mountain tops. Strangely, on top of every mountain, a small tea pavilion and a small courtyard occupied the flat peak. It seemed that cultivators deliberately built these buildings here for some reason. Leo got down from the horseback and looked around. Upon seeing that many plants already existed in the mountaintop courtyard, Leo decided that he would grow the dragon fruit plant here. How about here, eyeball? Is this place good? The eyeball repeatedly looked up and down. It also came out of the plant and ran around the courtyard. Next to the courtyard, there was a small pond, full of transparent liquid. The eyeball monster immediately jumped into it. Dong. Unfortunately, the water surface was frozen. The eyeball tentacle failed to soak itself in the water. Leo hadn't noticed the quality of the strange pond yet. He quietly dug into the rocky soil on the mountain and put the plant's roots in there. After he covered the roots, he stood up and looked around. I guess I should use this place to study. Should I say, cultivating instead of studying? Chapter 103. Florida man proclaims himself as Messiah and found new religion to become true atheist. While Leo enjoyed himself, many cultivators retreated to their world as they deemed that this place was too dangerous for them. Yen Xiang swallowed his shame and returned home first. As for his subordinates, he left the decision to them if they wanted to risk their lives and stayed there. Some of them stayed behind to collect plants and rare herbs, but the majority of them followed the emperor. Meanwhile, Situ-Nantian was in bad shape. He had a hole inside him and he needed to recuperate. Upon returning home, Situ-Nantian used the clan's treasures and rare pills to save his life. Then, he cooped in his manor, recuperating. Situ-Nantian was angry. He was on the verge of bringing the legendary Gnosis home. Had he gotten his hand on it, he could have consumed it. Then, he would have had a chance to ascend and become an immortal. The dream was no longer possible. He lost his hand, and his internal organs were in a mess. It would take a few months to heal and a few years to recover his lost organs. Still, Situ-Nantian wouldn't let Leo scotch free after what he had done. The old man secretly contacted his ancestor, who had already ascended. Death Sword Sect equals. The yellow energy portal of the Death Sword Sect was kept in the underground dungeon. The room that housed the portal was concealed by 3 layers of protective arrays, preventing outsiders from entering this place accidentally. The dungeon was made of mud bricks, painted with ox blood. The damp environment and stale air made the returnees uncomfortable, but they endured it. Whoosh, whoosh. At the mystic realm portal of the Death Sword Sect, a few disciples returned with rare materials in their hands. Some of the elders also returned, but their faces were pale. This group of elders and disciples went to a different mystic realm. They didn't find the pyramid, pagoda town, or the Amazon jungle. Instead, they went to a desert. One of the elders staggered a few steps and collapsed on the ground. However, his smile never disappeared from his face. In his spatial rings, he scored a bunch of golden sand bananas. In that package, there were about 40 bananas which could be used for alchemy ingredients or grain pills. The golden sand bananas contained the thick earth element chi. He was excited that he could ask an alchemist to turn them into cultivation pills. Then, once he consumed them, he would gain earth element. Ouyang Feng, who failed to join this expedition, looked at the returnees in envy. He hadn't recovered from the previous incident yet, and he couldn't even walk. At the moment, he still relied on a wheelchair to go around. Behind Ouyang Feng, a deacon of the Death Sword Sect looked at the poor disciple and sighed. He felt bad for the guy. News spread that Chang Yuanji committed suicide out of shame after he saw Ouyang Feng's condition. However, everybody knew that Ouyang Zi killed him, but they didn't utter a word. They held their grudge and retaliated against the Ouyang clan by ignoring Ouyang Feng. The deacon and many disciples glanced at Ouyang Feng with cold eyes, but no one talked to him. Ouyang Feng also realized his position. He grudgingly asked the deacon to bring him away from this place. The deacon guided the wheelchair of Ouyang Feng to the surface. He had shown the disciple enough. However, as Ouyang Feng and the deacon were about to leave, one of the returnees called for them. The person was none other than the sect master of the Death Sword Sect, Hua Guanhai. Coincidentally, Hua Guanhai was a distant cousin of Hua Jiashen. Stay, Ouyang Feng. I have something to ask you. Hua Guanhai was a burly 7-foot-tall man with a square face. He wore a black bandana, covering his black long hair. His full black beard was messy and curly that he looked like a barbarian. The 2 sword scars on his face were left behind by Hua Jiashan, but his cultivation base was at the quasi-immortal stage. Although Hua Guanhai was tired from the quick expedition, he came to see the troublesome disciple. Ouyang Feng bit his lower lips and prepared himself for the punishment that his clan had done. He brought his wheelchair around and lowered his head. This junior greets Sect Master Hua. What can I do for you, senior? Hua Guanhai coldly stared at Ouyang Feng. He glanced at the latter's legs and stomach, checking his vitality with his eyes. The brown pupils of Hua Guanhai turned white. They shone as they saw through Ouyang Feng's constitution and hidden injuries. Instantly, he noticed why Ouyang Feng couldn't walk on his own. You've been afflicted by a strong element essence attack, I see. I sense strong poison essence in your head that disrupts your ability to balance yourself. Ouyang Feng was surprised. Nobody, even his grandfather, managed to identify the cause of his injury. He looked at the sect master and asked him, Do you know something about it, sect master, sir? Hua Guanhai smirked. I know this kind of attack very well. Those bastards from the Tang clan are masters of poison. I heard they are researching wind elements so that they can improve their combat abilities. Well, it's not like you need to know. Then, can you cure me? Not possible. I'm not a poison expert. Oh, again. Hua Guanhai grinned as he found it fun to tease the nasty descendant of the obnoxious Ouyang clan. He snorted and turned around. You can leave. I'm busy. Ouyang Feng was dejected. The deacon behind him sneered at the youth and guided the wheelchair around. He then brought Ouyang Feng back to the surface. After Ouyang Feng had left, Hua Guanhai looked at the returnees and the portal. He gave them a new command. The desert mystic realm is too dangerous for us to stay there for too long. We will close the portal today and end this season's expedition. I will not allow anyone to go back in there anymore. The elders and disciples that didn't get their chance to go were disappointed. As they couldn't go, they only welcomed the lucky disciples and elders. Then they left in peace. After everybody was gone, Hua Guanhai snickered. He played with the portal's array, which turned the energy portal's color from yellow to pink. I think you should take a look at. The destination of the portal changed from the desert to a dense pink mushroom forest. Hua Guanhai looked into the portal and noticed that they were rich in wood chi and earth chi. However, the presence of the sweet dream mushrooms deterred him. Damn mushrooms, this takes me back. But meh, I wish I can find one of those blood realms. We need that legendary blood element from the demon clan. Hua Guanhai sighed and changed the color of the portal again. This time it turned red. He didn't notice the changes in the forest mystic and the tiniest spore of a certain mushroom. A spore managed to slip through the portal and latched onto Hua Guanhai's boot. West Mountain Forest Mystic Realm . Leo entered the tea pavilion building after he had left the dragon fruit plant alone to grow. He inspected the interior, checking if there was something he could bring home. Sure enough, there were plenty of glossy clay pots in the building. The cabinets and the shelves of this place had most of the cooking tools, but they seemed outdated. Leo picked one of the teapots made from clay. The shape was a bit crooked, and the pot was not symmetrical. No matter how Leo looked at it, this teapot was made by a beginner craftsman. He put the teapot away and took his eyes off the ancient arts. He sat at the wooden table to rest. While resting, Leo contemplated his thoughts and his goal, trying to figure out what the Tao, the knowledge, or the gnosis of Rabbit Trent King was. Tao is knowledge. Gnosis is also some form of knowledge. But why is it related to that plant? Dragon fruit knowledge? How to grow dragon fruits? That shouldn't be it. Leo smacked his lips and returned to the plant. As it would be better to learn the plant from the source, he stopped touring the mountaintop. After sitting in front of the plant, Leo noticed that the eyeball already digested the 10th rank monster core. It grew slightly bigger, but nothing else seemed different. Looking at the eyeball, Leo laughed at it. So, why did you eat the monster core? What do you need it for? Growing bigger. The eyeball looked left and right, disagreeing with Leo. It came out of the plant and hopped on the newly grown dragon fruit. It picked the fruit with its tentacle and handed it to Leo. Oh, for me? But you didn't answer my question. The eyeball pointed at the fruit and Leo's skin, gesturing for him to mutate it. As Leo had nothing else to do, he followed the eyeball's instruction. The white fruit instantly turned dark. The eyeball seemed overjoyed. He then pointed at the ground, wanting Leo to plant it. Plant the mutated fruit? The eyeball nodded. As it was overexcited, it used its small tentacles to dig the soil. Leo laughed at it and helped the eyeball dig the ground. After he created a small hole for the fruit, he dropped it into the pit and covered it. Is that it? Asked Leo. The eyeball looked left and right, doing its version of shaking heads. It then pointed at the white plant and pointed at the buried fruit. Leo frowned as he didn't understand the eyeball's intention. What are you doing? The eyeball was frustrated. It kept pointing at the white plant and the buried fruit. Leo tried to connect the dots, but he still couldn't get the whole picture. He closed his eyes and fell into a deep thought. But as Leo kept thinking, a black sprout already emerged from the ground, where Leo had buried the black dragon fruit. Screech. The eyeball jumped on Leo's face and poked him, telling Leo to stop daydreaming. Pointed at the black plant. Leo opened his eyes and looked at it. Again, he squinted his eyebrows. Yeah, it's growing as we speak. So? The eyeball was angry that Leo was ignorant and stupid. It poked Leo's eyes with its tiny tentacles, but it did nothing to him. Instead, more cancer cells latched onto the creature and became its food. Seeing how worked up the eyeball was, Leo threw away his useless thoughts and observed the plant. He had a feeling that he knew this process, but it got stuck at the back of his head. Mutation? Tao of mutation? Gnosis of the Rabbit Trent King? Wait a minute. Leo suddenly had an epiphany. He looked at his hands, then he looked at the growing mutated plant. Tao of mutation and evolution, is that the case here? The eyeball repeatedly nodded. He kept pointing at the white dragon fruit, trying to tell Leo that Rabbit Trent King had been experimenting on it, turning the regular plant into this white plant. In short, the knowledge or the gnosis that Leo had been looking for was so close to him. It was a part of his ability. However, turning this knowledge into gnosis or a Tao was a different story. Leo had a lot of work to do. Chapter 104, Florida Man Sings on Mountain, becomes Disney princess and haunted by ghost. Leo meditated, mimicking how a cultivator in novels always did. However, he knew nothing about chi circulation and breathing. After 10 minutes of sitting idly, Leo gave up. He stared at the growing black sprout next to the dragon fruit plant. You know what? Screw this. I'm gonna spit on it and accelerate its growth. Once it's big enough, I'm gonna eat it. Leo picked up another ripened dragon fruit and waited for it to fully mutate. When the fruit turned black, he dug another hole and planted the fruit. After he covered the hole, he spat on it. Although Leo had the urge to urinate on the mutated plant, he remembered that he planned to eat it. Thus, it would have been a stupid idea. The saliva fertilizer worked wonders. The first sprout rapidly grew while the second one shot out from the ground. However, both plants were different. The first mutated plant was identical to the white plant except for its color. On the other hand, the second one transformed into a roper tree as all its branches and leaves became long black tentacles. Leo's expression turned dark when he saw the second black plant. Before it could grow further, Leo uprooted it and snapped it in half. He cut the tentacles and started eating them even though the shapes and the tips resembled the thing. The appearance was indeed disgusting and repulsive. Fortunately, it tasted like wasabi and nuts. The wasabi smell kicked Leo's nose. He paused several times as he got high from the herb. Woo! It was addictive. Leo wished that he had some sashimi to go along with the dildo-looking wasabi plant. However, he was sad that he didn't let it mature and multiply. Leo looked at the roots of the broken roper. He replanted it and spat on it twice, begging it for forgiveness. Unfortunately, the plant was already dead. Ha! Life is hard. Anyway, I need to try again. Leo picked another ripened fruit from the white tree and mutated it. As usual, he buried the fruit in the ground. Luck was not on Leo's side. The new one came out looking like the first mutated plant. Leo's face turned ugly. He felt like he gambled in a gacha game, rolling for a 5-star character. Then, he got a 3-star or a 4-star character instead. Again, gambling could be addictive. Leo re-rolled his life gacha game, growing another plant. The fourth sprout rapidly grew. But this time, it mutated into a black bamboo tree. Leo dropped his jaw and watched how the black bamboo tree shot to the sky. It rose up 20 meters before it began growing branches and leaves. Plop! Bamboo shoots quickly emerged around the black bamboo tree. In a few seconds, they grew into new black bamboo trees. When they matured, new bamboo shoots came out. The loop went on for 12 circles before the bamboo trees devoured all nutrients from the soil and Leo's spit. When the growing spree ended, over 500 bamboo trees occupied half of the mountaintop. Leo smirked and injected his chi into one of the spatial rings. Then, he pointed the ring at the bamboo. Whoosh! All of them entered the ring's pocket space, including a portion of the soil of the mountain. This is fun. Again, Leo grabbed another ripened fruit from the white tree to roll another gacha. While burying another fruit, he sang Edward Kill's Trololo song. The eyeball and Taxi gave Leo a weird look at first, but after listening to the troll song, they got infected. As the song was not complicated, Taxi quickly learned it. Ho 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 ho. Taxi stopped smashing and sang along. Leo also played with it, singing the entire song from the beginning. The eyeball bobbed its body up and down while the white plant waved left and right. The mutated black plants also started moving. By the time Leo realized it, he turned into a Disney princess, singing with his wild friends. The black plants soon matured. They began producing black dragon fruits. However, as if they learned what Leo had been trying to do, the ripened fruits fell from the trees and dove into the soil. They moved deeper into the mountain and traveled away from their mothers. Plop, plop. Black fruits absorbed the remnant of Leo's radiation and spit. They soon grew on the cliffs of the mountain and remained there. Leo didn't notice that the black dragon plants multiplied. He was busy singing and relaxing. As Taxi and the plants enjoyed his little concert, Leo kept looping the song over and over again as if he wanted to sing the 10-hour version of the song. Clink, clink. As Leo kept singing, His rainbow aura produced white glittering light. They spread everywhere on the mountain and sank into local trees. As soon as they touched the particles, the trees mutated. This time they didn't turn black. All of them were white, the same color as the white dragon fruit plant. As more of them turned white, the mutated trees returned the favor by producing countless strings of white chi, sending them back to Leo. Leo didn't notice the white strings of chi. They gathered behind him and slowly condensed together. After 10 minutes, the threads evolved into essence droplets, and the water droplets slowly grew larger. That I think you should take a look at. For hours later, Leo stopped rolling the mutated plant gacha. He spat at the white plant and the eyeball, giving them some rewards. That's enough for the day. I'll try again later. Anyway, it's been fun, guys. Taxi was bored with the song. His throat was also parched, and it flew away to search for water. As for the eyeball and the plants around Leo, they looked disappointed as they had never listened to a song before. They still wanted more. Seeing how sad the eyeball was, Leo came up with an idea. He browsed the online shopping system and searched for a high-spec phone with a long-life battery. iPhone 69 was the latest smartphone model from Leo's era when the nuclear war started. The ads boasted that the phone came with a 69-gigapixel camera and a cutting-edge A69 Bionic processor, capable of clocking up to 5,000 megahertz. Looking at the handheld transparent phone brought Leo back. He remembered that he once used the phone to zoom the moon instead of using a proper telescope. Fortunately, the price was affordable. It cost only 1,000 years of lifespan. Leo purchased it. When he got it, he set up the phone and used the internet. But the next moment, he slapped his forehead. There was no internet in this world. What was the point of having a phone? I'm stupid. Welp, what a waste of money. Leo shook his head. He rubbed the smooth touchscreen, admiring the home screen. Ding. Would you spend 1,000 years of lifespan to upgrade the iPhone 69? Leo forgot about it. He could upgrade every item that he had purchased from the online store shop. However, the upgrade fee was usually expensive. If I upgrade it, can I even use the internet? The system didn't answer the question. Once again, it left him in the dark. Welp, screw it. Upgrade it to the max level possible. Ding. Instantly, the phone was upgraded to level 8. Whoosh. The appearance didn't change in the slightest. However, the home screen drastically improved. The top right corner, which showed the status of the battery, revealed the infinite symbol on it. Secondly, it picked up a Wi-Fi signal. What in the freaking Florida? How is there a Wi-Fi signal here? The phone soon updated all its apps and rebooted. When it was done, Leo checked the setting menu to see the phone's details. No bloatware came along with the phone. There were only 3 apps. A weird internet browser with a ring icon, a camera app, and a mysterious app with a picture icon of a general store. Curious, Leo fiddled with the phone, trying to access the internet. He also checked where the Wi-Fi signal came from. It wasn't hard to find where he got the signal from. The Wi-Fi router was registered as Ring. Leo immediately looked at the alien ring that merged with his finger. He frowned. It's you, isn't it? He rubbed the ring and tried to inject his chi string into it. However, the response was different from regular spatial rings. There was no pocket dimension inside. However, as Leo played with the ring, he sensed something odd. Instead of finding a pocket dimension, he sensed an embryo of a living being. While Leo was playing with the ring, the condensed essence of light finished condensing itself into a finger-sized water droplet. It then rushed into Leo's alien ring. The corner of Leo's eyes caught something entering his alien ring. It went into his finger and the embryo. Clink. A wisp of something came out. The light wisp orbited around Leo. After lapping him thrice, it phased through nearby plants and the eyeball monster. When it was done, it dove into Leo's chest. Leo saw the streak of light disappearing into his chest. He frowned and closed his eyes, trying to find the weird thing in his body. Unfortunately, his cancer cells failed to find the weird light. What was that? Leo scratched his head and looked around, but he didn't find anything. Behind Leo, a floating male toddler manifested. He looked exactly like Leo as he was young. The transparent toddler giggled and sat on top of Leo's head. However, the latter didn't sense his presence. On the other hand, the eyeball monster stared at him as if he was the only one who could see his appearance. The toddler smiled and hushed the eyeball monster. The latter jumped and waved its tentacles, trying to get Leo's attention. The eyeball hinted and pointed at the top of Leo's head, telling Florida Man that something was there. What is wrong with you, little eye? Oh, right, not enough song, right? Give me a moment. I'll pick a 10-hour version and let it play for as long as you like. Leo failed to catch the hint. He browsed the internet and found the YouTube site. He opened the 10-hour version of Tralalal song and put the phone next to the white plant. Then, he walked to the tea house pavilion to sleep. The toddler stuck out its tongue at the eyeball. It turned around and followed Leo to the pavilion while it continued to gather light particles around him. Chapter 105. Florida man criticizes missionary, gets struck by lightning, and gains enlightenment. After resting for the night, Leo returned to the courtyard and checked on the plants. When he saw the changes in this mountain, he was astonished. The white dragon fruit plant should be called a tree instead. It grew 10 meters high, and it developed a thick trunk. Surrounding the white tree was 12 black dragon fruit trees. Thousands of mutated fruits hung on the branches, waiting for them to be ripened. Seeing so many fruits, Leo brightly smiled. He collected them in his spatial rings, planning to plant them in his shop domain. After collecting the black trees, Leo looked at the white tree. As he hadn't achieved his goal yet, Leo stared at the tree, wondering what he lacked to acquire the Gnosis or Tao. Leo sat down under the tree. He picked up a white dragon fruit and watched it mutate. Ha! What am I missing? He didn't notice that the toddler spirit had been sitting on his head, giggling and laughing at Leo. The spirit looked at the mutated fruit and came up with an idea. It flew toward a nearby fruit and touched it. The ripened dragon fruit instantly dissipated into dust, and its nutrition entered the spirit's body. The toddler giggled again. As greedy as Leo, it went around and absorbed the life force of the fallen fruits around him. One after another, the fallen fruits around the white tree vanished. Leo didn't notice at first, but when half of the fruits around him were gone, he frowned and looked around. Leo frowned and carefully looked around him. He had a hunch that something invisible was at work, and it stole the fruits around here. He then glanced at the eyeball, who latched onto the white tree as usual. The eyeball once again pointed its tentacle at the spirit of a toddler. Finally, Leo caught the hint and followed where the tentacles pointed at. Whoosh! One of the fruits withered and turned into dust right in front of Leo's eyes. He raised his eyebrows and walked toward the pile of dust. Curious and confused, he picked up the white dust and looked at the eyeball again. The creature tracked the flying spirit and kept pointing, hoping that Leo could do something about it. Leo's eyes also followed after the pointer. Upon noticing that the invisible thing went for a pile of ripened fruits, Leo rushed there and gathered the white dragon fruits in his spatial rings, leaving only one fruit on the ground. The toddler spirit was greedy. As it knew that Leo couldn't see it, the spirit went for the fruit next to Leo's feet. It reached out to touch it. Suddenly, Leo's hand thrust down. The hand went through the spirit's body, but the former failed to touch or grab it. The spirit was surprised. It flew away in a hurry and hid behind the white tree. Screech! The eyeball never missed its chance. It jumped down from the white tree and cladded itself in white light. Plop! The octopus-like eyeball caught the toddler. Leo saw that. He praised the eyeball. Good job! Pin it down. Rushing to the eyeball's side, Leo ordered his cancer cells to coat his hands and fingers with chi strings. Then, he tried to touch the invisible spirit again. Unfortunately, Leo's hands and chi threads were unable to touch the infant Tao spirit. Instead, the chi threads entered the spirit's body and were digested. Sensing his chi leaving him, Leo was annoyed. Still, as he had fought with mutated monsters that could steal his life force before, Leo had a trick up in his sleeves. Instead of pulling his hands out, Leo ordered his cancer cells to increase the power output. Instead of creating harmless chi threads, Leo wanted them to exhibit their inner essence and feed the invisible thief some more. You want to rob my energy? Sure, go ahead. Fill your stomach. Make sure you don't die from overeating. As if a dam had opened a floodgate, thick energy gushed out from Leo's palm. The toddler spirit was taken aback when its master tried to overflow it with his element essence. It wiggled and tried to flee from the eyeball monster's grasp. This needed to stop. If Leo kept pouring more element essence into the spirit, it would explode because of the overflowing energy. It was not sturdy enough to contain such domineering essence energy. Unfortunately, a newborn Tao spirit couldn't be an opponent of an older 9th rank monster. The creature's eye curved up, mocking the spirit that it had no chance. It continued to press the spirit to the ground. The spirit was offended. Still, for the sake of survival, It dispersed its body particles and entered Leo's body. Leo immediately sensed a cold energy flow entering his palms, going up his arms, and entering his heart. He widened his eyes in shock. What? Leo sank his mind into his body, commanding his cancer cells to identify the weird energy flow inside him. The cells swiftly complied with the order and contained the mysterious energy, driving it away from his heart. They pushed it to his solar plexus. The flow of energy fought back. It manifested itself, transforming into a tiny ball. The ball then shone and repelled the cells from entering its body. Unfortunately, it underestimated Leo. Leo was ruthless. He shoved his index finger into his chest and dug the grain-sized ball out. He looked at it and narrowed his eyes as it was so little. What are you? The wound in Leo's chest was healed while he looked at the orb. He wondered if it was the Gnosis or Tao that the quest mentioned. Whoosh! The ball moved by itself and escaped from his fingers. Instantly, it transformed into a streak of light and entered the alien ring. Leo witnessed everything. He looked at the finger with the ring. You again. You never stop amusing me, ring. Very well, let me amuse you. Using his full strength, Leo rubbed the alien ring while he ordered his cells to pour essence into it, trying to flush out the light ball earlier. However, this action awakened something else. Instead of destroying the ring or flushing out the content inside, it reinforced the ring and fed the spirit more energy. As the ring was enhanced, it faded into Leo's flesh, becoming one with him. The alien ring was gone. He could no longer find it. Ha! Leo was at a loss. He had no idea what he had done. He sat on his butt and scratched his head. Arg! Damn it! This is frustrating. What was that thing? I think you should take a look at. Because of frustration, Leo got lazy. He lay on the rocky ground under the white tree and looked at the abundant dragon fruits. The chilly wind above the ground and the thin air made Leo drowsy. A few seconds later, Leo fell asleep. After Leo was asleep, the spirit came out from Leo's finger. However, its appearance looked a lot different. Instead of coming out as a toddler, it was now a boy. The boy had the same face as Leo when he was 6. His cheeky smile and big head made him look naughty rather than cute. The Tao spirit looked at Leo's sleeping face and sneered at him. He dug a small hole in the ground near Leo's waist. Then it created a small water pond. After that, it grabbed Leo's hand and put his fingers into the water. When the deed was done, the boy's spirit sat on Leo's chest, waiting for his deed to show a result. Suddenly, Leo snapped open his eyes. He stared at the being on his chest. The Tao spirit was taken aback, turned around and tried to flee. However, Leo's hand was faster. This time, Leo caught the boy by the neck. His hands were coated with the thick essence of the cancer cells. He could see the spirit. Too bad for you, I'm immune to this prank. I know exactly which dream will make me wet my bed, and I can easily break every dream I have with a thought. Do you know how many years I have been sleeping and playing in my dream world when I was bored? The boy struggled to flee, but he couldn't escape. It looked at Leo to the face, moving its mouth. However, no word came out. Rumble. While Leo and the spirit conversed, black thunderclouds manifested above the mountaintop. Boom. Thunder cracked, and a lightning bolt flashed in the clouds. Coincidentally, it was black lightning. Oh shit. Leo had faced this before. He remembered how the black lightning bolts almost killed him several times back when he was on Earth. That time, he managed to escape the lightning barrage by running away from the chasing clouds. Facing the unknown tribulation clouds again, Leo realized that he had no time to run. He tossed away the spirit and prepared to bail. However, the spirit latched onto Leo's chest, hugging him like a baby monkey. He looked up and faced its master. What do you want, ghost? Do you want to get fried or what? The spirit had enough. Its ghostly body sank into Leo's chest and merged with him. This time, the ghost didn't try to do anything funny to his body. Instead, it assimilated with him, transferring all its memory to Leo. A new memory gushed into Leo's mind, and one of his blood veins ruptured. Transparent blood came out from his nose, but he snorted all of them back. It was hard to comprehend what he saw in the vision. In his mind, he saw countless scenery of trees, forests, and mountains. He witnessed the passage of time, seeing the growth of plants, animals, and insects. Life and death came and went. When old creatures died, new beings replaced them. Each generation was different from the previous one as they had different personalities and traits. However, there was one thing in common. In every generation, one or two of the plants, trees, insects, or creatures mutated and created a new subspecies. These variants changed the major traits of their ancestors, and they either thrived or died trying. Among all plants, a descendant of a green dragon fruit plant absorbed too much wood chi, and it bore a mutated fruit. That fruit fell from the tree and was eaten by a wild cockatrice. Then, the monster defecated the germinated seeds, which gave birth to a new species of dragon fruit plant, the white dragon fruit plant. Not long after that, a rabbit Trent uprooted the plant and gave it to their king. Ah! Leo drooled and looked up to the sky as he was still drunk by the memory injection. He tiptoed toward the white tree and the eyeball. As his muscle memory kicked in, he collected the tree and the eyeball into one of the spatial rings. Crack. A few seconds later, black lightning descended, aiming at Leo. While half awake, Leo sidestepped and dodged the lightning bolt. Boom! The whole mountain erupted and exploded. That was not all. The black lightning created a 5-kilometer deep hole in the ground. The tip of the lightning bolt then gathered more force, condensing another explosion. Boom! Something in the large hole exploded. Meanwhile, Leo fell from the mountain as the heaven tribulation lightning destroyed it. He snapped back to his sense and used the falling debris as a stepping stone. He leaped from the falling rock and hopped on the next. After 5 jumps, Leo traveled 500 meters and caught another erected mountain's cliff. Leo looked at the sky, wondering why the black lighting pursued him. He didn't remember doing anything wrong for heaven to curse him. What did I do? Leo retorted and cursed heaven. Rumble. A second later, the black clouds dispersed, leaving Leo confused. Huh! That's it. Leo scratched his head and looked down at the narrow hole that the lightning bolt had created. There was a glowing red dot at the end of the tunnel, but Leo was not interested. Clink. Leo suddenly heard a chiming bell sound. Behind him, a Tao spirit of him emerged. It had the face of Leo, but its body was made of wood. The first Tao avatar of Leo was a wood mannequin with his face. When the Tao avatar came out, Leo received a system notification. Congratulations. You have digested the gnosis of Rabbit Trent King. Ha!